Hello techies. Welcome to our brand new video series focused on helping you get the most of your experiences in life. Before we start the video, let's know about Upptalk. Upptalk is a live, interactive platform for software training, furnishing robust personalities who could take on universal business platforms.
So what were the different compensation plan types? Regulate, incentive, and ad hoc. So Regulate, we created our salary plan yesterday. Now let's also create an allowance plan. Right, let's see. Let's see how we can create an allowance plan for us. So let me create AC allowance plan. Okay. The task to create an allowance plan is create an allowance plan. Now we have a few options here. Number 1 is it can be an amount-based plan. It can be a percentage-based plan, or it can be a unit-based plan. And on top of it, we have an option to make it reimbursable. Okay. A reimbursable allowance plan are associated with expense items. Typically, if you are doing some expense, then you can reimburse it back from the organization. The allowance is by submitting an expense report. So if it is a reimbursable allowance, then it will not be paid to the employee directly. The employee has to submit a claim via an expense report for them to be able to get the payment for that particular allowance plan. Right. And do you know the rule about the allowance plan? About how much you are going to get? Let's take a quick example, okay? So let's say that you have an internet allowance up to $150 per month. Okay. That is your internet allowance. But the month of January, your internet bill is $140. Okay. So you have your claiming it. So what is the amount that you will get in the reimbursable 1 in 14? And your N40. Another 40. So in January, if you are claiming it, so you will get a reimbursed, but it is $1.40. Now in February, for some reason you ended up spending $150. So what will be the reimbursed amount? How much will you get? $150. And then in March, right? In March you watched too much Netflix because there was a lot of shows which came up. So your bill actually went up to $170 for some reason. Then how much money you will get as a reimbursement? $150. $150 again. Right? You will not get $170. You will get $150. So what is the rule? Allowance, or maybe allowance amount. Max or reimbursed amount, right? Whichever is lower. Correct. That this is a rule that most companies follow. The amount allowance, I mean the allowed amount, or the allowance amount, or the reimbursed amount, whichever is lower. You will get that amount. So if you are claiming amount that is lower, then your allowance, you will get the lower amount, which is $140, like we got in January. If it is equal, everybody is happy. Employees have to because they got the maximum. And if it is more than the allowance, so it says whichever is lower. So that means this 150 is lower. So you will get the $150 right. That is a story with reimbursable allowances. Now, while we are here, what is an amount-based plan? What is an amount-based plan? The internet expense that we saw, was that an amount-based plan? Yes. Yes. Yes, where in the allowance they specify an amount. So this is an allowance with an amount. With a dollar amount, let's say with a monetary amount. With a monetary amount specified, there is an amount-based plan. So if it is a car allowance, and I tell you, I'll give you $1,000 per month. So that is an amount-based plan, because I'm specifying the monetary amount. Now what can we? A percentage-based plan. People who are in India, they would have seen this very frequently as part of their conversation. What is a percentage-based plan? What is a percentage-based allowance? People in India, have you seen the house rent allowance as part of your salary? Yeah. If it is a metro city, then 50%, 60%, I think, else it would be 50%. So you are specifying in that 50 or 60%. 50% of what? A basic salary. Basically, right? Basic salary or BSP. 50% of your PSP. So if it is a percentage-based plan, it is a percentage of something, most commonly percentage of BSP. So, like the HRA, the house rent allowance in India is typically up to 50% of your BSP. So that is how the companies will specify the allowance, and it is also called HRA or house rent allowance. This allowance is 50% of your BSP. Some government employees get a dearness allowance. And the dearness allowance is also a percentage of their BSP. So if your BSP is high, you get a high HRA. If your BSP is low, you get a proportionate allowance. Anything like this very common in the US. Where do you get a percentage base B? Can you give some examples? Is it? Do you have the? Are you asking? Do you have those examples? No, definitely not 401k. That's your only percentage that I can think of, but that's not a part of BSP. Yeah, not part of BSP. Okay, but let's say you still have let's say, a commission okay, or maybe a sales allowance, or maybe a travel allowance. Travel allowances are not like that. Okay, I'm thinking of something. Now maybe a wellness allowance. Write a wellness allowance as 1% of your BSP. Okay, or not even 1%. Let's make it 10% of your BSP. So every month you're going to get a wellness allowance, this amount you're supposed to spend on your wellness, like maybe a gym membership or maybe some sports scores, or maybe some fitness gear and so on. So this is your wellness allowance. Right? That is 10% of your BSP. Okay, but this is a percentage-based plan. This will be a percentage of something, most commonly the BSP. Now there can be another thing, which is called a unit-based plan. Units of what? Not the money. Okay, it is not a money-based plan, but it is a unit-based plan. Let's say your allowance is 20.
Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us at sales@therateuptalk.com.